Would you like to make an album without having to make hinges and using a scoreboard? Here is my On the Farm counting book that uses an envelope album. Let's take a look. The beautiful DSP I've used for this album is a free Sale-a-bration DSP, and it's called Day at the Farm. It's got gorgeous sheet that can be cut out using the dies from the On the Farm dies that come in the bundle with the On the Farm stamp set. So these dies cut both images in the stamp set. They cut extra images like little hills and a little contour so you can create your own landscapes. And there's extra little dies in here like little chickens, there's a little rabbit, there's little pigs. And some of them also cut out the images in the DSP. Let's take a look at the album. I've just used that beautiful DSP for the cover and the inside. This is a little box I made to fit the album in. And here's the album. This DSP that I used is another pattern in this pack. It's got that on one side and that paper on the other. And for the front of my album, I've simply used the offcuts from the inside pieces. And for all the stamped lettering throughout, I've used the Alphabest stamp set. For the numbers, I've used these fabulous new dies, which are called Alphabest a la mode dies, and it gives you all of the numbers plus alphabet. There's lots of double letters for a lot of the vowels and other letters that like N that you might use two of, or S. And my top tip for using these dies is always adhere an adhesive sheet behind your cardstock before you cut. And then they're really easy to adhere. They turn into a sticker and you don't have any mess. And if you get them in the wrong spot, it's really easy to just lift them up with your take a pick tool and you can reposition them. Let's take a look at the counting book. 1 barn. For this page, I've used this gorgeous piece of DSP here. And I've simply cut out part of it and I've put the spread over 2 pages. I've then used the stitched rectangle dies to, I've stamped some of the trees from the stamp set and the clouds, and I've stamped and die cut a little barn. I've used the Alphabet a la mode for the number 1, coloured in soft suede. And I've stamped the word barn in cherry cobbler, which matches the colours. All of the colours throughout, I've matched the colours in the DSP. 2 cows. Once again, I've just used part of this page, cut out that section there with the 2 cows. And I've also cut out from die cut, using the matching die cut the little cow out for that page. Again, on a larger stitched rectangle. And again, this is another piece of DSP from the beautiful farm DSP. And it's that page there that I've used. That's all the vegetables on that side. Just a tip for making counting books, for small children especially. When they don't know how to read yet, if you put the image of what you want them to count in the book next to the number, so even if they can't read the word barn or cows yet, they can see that they've got to count 2 of that image. And it means that they can use the book on their own without you having to count them as well. And they can get a real sense of achievement learning how to read and how to count. 3 windmills. For this one, I used this wonderful contour piece of DSP. Let me just find it. It's this one here behind the trees. I've used this quite a bit. And I've just cut that out for the background to create the hills. And then I've used the little tiny windmill die. It doesn't have a matching stamp set, but I just cut it out in white, sort of for a more of a graphic look. And the main windmill that they're looking for, I used one of the smaller stitched rectangle dies to cut that one out. It just adds a bit of visual interest, and once again it shows them that's what a windmill looks like, and that's what you're looking for on that page to count 3 of them. Oh, for the clouds here, I've fussy cut with my paper snips some of the clouds from the top there. 4 pigs and 5 piglets. Now this is one of my favourite pages. You'll see on this piece of DSP that there is it's a double pig and a piglet that the die cuts out. I'll show you the little die, how it fits on top. There it is there. So I used that die to cut them out, and then I couldn't sort of get it looking really nice graphically on the page, and I thought it'd be rather cute to separate them, and there's 2 lots of counting on that page. And I wanted it to look a bit more like this DSP, but without the distraction of the other animals to count. So there's a tiny little die that cuts out the little leaf stems, and there's another little die that cuts out the little flowers. And then I just fussy cut apart the pigs and the piglets once I die cut them out, and then just arranged it all on the chicken wire DSP, which is very cute, and it is the back of that cute one there. I used that one there. I really love that page because I think it adds interest to have 2 numbers on one page. 6 silos. For this one, once again, I used part of this big landscape, this big image, that you could use this page just on its own as a scrapbook page. It's very cute, or even just frame it for a child's bedroom. But I've cut out the barn and the silos for this one. There's also the sheep is already included, so I just did that one. For this side of the page, I used another piece of this DSP, and then I used an offcut from here that I layered down the bottom, and then I layered up some of these trees from the other side of the landscape page. I just cut them out and used ones so that we're not wasting. See, I used those 2 from the edge of the paper, and it looks really good on a landscape, and then I cut out a complete one. For the silos, I used the stamp set, and I stamped these silos, used the matching die to die cut them out, and then coloured them in with my blends. Now, the back of this DSP, all DSPs list the colours used in the DSP. And Day at the Farm has got listed Balmy Blue, Cajun Craze, Cherry Cobbler, Daffodil Delight, Garden Green, Pear Pizzazz, Sahara Sand, and Soft Suede. It actually has 2 more colours in there. There's actually also Blushing Bride for the pigs, and with the silo, the silos are actually grey granite. So I used my grey granite light and dark stamping blends to colour those. I fussy cut out some more clouds, and the little hay bales are fussy cut as well from the DSP. I tried not to waste any of the DSP, and it's really fun collaging your little landscapes. You can just you go as far as your imagination takes you. 7 ducklings. Now this is very cute too. The little duck, I can't remember. The little duck is from this, the mother duck is from this DSP here. That's the other side of that one I showed you before. So I fussy cut her out with my scissors. And then there's a little set of dies. You get 3 little ducks in your dies. They don't have a matching stamp set. I simply cut them out. I used I used scraps of this that were left over from my collaging, cut them out on the darker yellow part. And for the 3 that are floating in the pond, I simply chopped off their little legs with my paper snips because you don't see their legs when they're on a pond. I used an oval die to create the pond, but you can just free hand cut that. It's very simple to do that. For my son, I used the top of the windmill die. I die cut that in yellow, again from leftover, a leftover section of this, the darker bit. And then I stuck that on, and then I used my Daffodil Delight pen just to extend the sun out, the sun's rays from behind the cloud. This section here is the bottom section of that. I fussy cut around that, fussy cut out all the green bit, and I made sure I placed the pond to cover up the pigs because I didn't want to distract them from the little ducks. The 2 little flowers here, I used the little dies that come with the, in the die set. They do have a matching stamp, but I used them to die cut out the little flowers in this DSP, so I wasn't wasting any DSP. This is gorgeous. This blue DSP is on the back of that one there. So I used that to pick up the blue of the pond on that page. And for the blue pond, I cut it out of a piece of the sky. I think that I couldn't quite get the a large enough oval to cover the pigs without there being a little bit of a gap where something else was. And that's why I stuck those little flowers there to cover the little gap where I had to fussy cut around. But you can, I like that because those little flowers match those ones. So it looks quite good and it gives you a sense of perspective because they're smaller than those ones at the front. 8 sheep. Well, this is rather cute too. I love sheep. I grew up having pet sheep as I grew up in the country. Farmers would give us potty lambs, which is what we call it here in Australia. And we had one called Woolly, very original, I know, and one called Christine. So I absolutely adore sheep. So for the background, I use this piece here that also has little sheep on it. I really like it. And that's the same. The other side is what I use there, and also for the front and the back of the album. Of course, I had to have one black sheep because they're always the best, aren't they? And I just coloured that sheep in with my light basic black stamping blend. Made sure I didn't waste any. These are all die cut from that main piece of DSP. And I made sure that there was some, you can't see on here, some that was sort of just half off. So I popped him on there. I think it always looks better on a page when things go off the edge anyway. And that way you're not wasting any. There's another one there. And then, of course, the Alpha Best a la mode dies. When there's a lot of space to fill on a page, I used the dies to spell out the word. When I want it smaller, I stamped the word with the Alpha Best stamp set. You can use either. And again, it mixes it up. It adds visual interest. For the trees one, I used both sides of this DSP, a whole section of the landscape, and then I fussy cut out these trees. They're very cute. Just put them where I thought they might appear on the landscape. I did put 2 smaller ones at the back to sort of give a bit of perspective. They're fussy cut from that DSP there. And then flipped over, I thought it was a really nice background to have the back of the landscape paper to do that. See here, I made sure I lined up because I just think that looks nice over the spine to have, the crease, the fold in the page, whatever you call it, to have the same tree over there. And 2 fussy cut trees, not so much room, so the word stamped 9 trees. 10 chickens, I love this one. I was thinking, how do I represent the chickens? And I thought, this fabulous chicken wire. It looked like a chicken coop. So I simply cut strips of soft suede cardstock to create the different, rungs for the chickens to stand on. And then the chickens are a variety. The 5 bigger ones come from 2 sheets of this. So I've got those ones there. And then the 5 smaller ones are stamped with the stamp set and die cut with the matching chicken die. And then they're coloured using, this is where you need to use your colour lifter. I did one for this one as well. You need to colour them with your lighter cherry cobber, just shaded to match that. And then to get the lighter pink area, you get your colour lifter and you use that over the top, and the colour lifter turns it to the softer pink, and then they look like they perfectly match the others. They all look like they're the same breed. So that's how I got my 10 chickens. Now, I knew I wanted 10 double-page spreads on this book, but I didn't realise I was going to do numbers 4 and 5 on one page, which meant I'd already made my album. I had a spare page. So I was thinking, what do I do now? Do I add more animals? And then I thought, no, let's use all the DSP. So with this one, I've simply stuck on that lovely DSP with all the different veggies and done sort of a rhyme. It's not a very good rhyme. Now that you've counted up to 10, how many vegetables are in the garden? See, I know it sounds a bit silly, but anyway. And that, I think, is a lot of fun for the kids because there's a lot of things to count in here. You've got corn, capsicum, onions, tomatoes, carrots, peas, broccoli, cucumber, and some sort of herb by the look of it as well. So that's really cute. And then the back of the album is just that. You see it has a lovely spine. So it sits really nicely even once you've stuck things onto pages. But I wouldn't add too many flaps or embellishments with this sort of album. So let me show you how to make this sort of album. I'm just going to do it with a couple of pages. So I'm just going to do 3 pages because that will show you how to do 2-page album, 2 double pages. So remember, I want 2 double page spreads. So therefore I use 2, the number of double page spreads you want, plus an extra one. So what you do, that is your outside cover. So you want the totally flat side. You lay it down like that with the sticky bit of your envelope up. You've got tear and tape on the back of your flaps. You do it at least halfway down because when you insert these in, you don't want to have the tear and tape sticking up there so that when you shut that, the pages are glued together. Does that make sense? You want to have it down so it's inside that bit there. And then what you do, you've got your outside front cover of your album, and this is going to be your inside. You don't do your envelopes, no, that way up. You make sure that one's flipped over. So you stick this in here like this and make sure it's lined up. See, perfect? Oh. So then what you do is you get your tear and tape, you gently lift up your album, and with your take a pick tool, you just remove that, make sure it's still lined up, and you press down. And that is your first double page spread. So you've got front cover, double page spread. Now we're going to do our next one. So once again, you insert, make sure you don't put it into the first envelope, just into the next envelope. So not that way. You flip it over. So you've got your tear and tape up here. And then you just slide it in, fold it over, backwards, make sure it lines up, flip it back, hold it into place, and then lift up the envelope so you can get in there with you take a pick tool and gently remove your tear and tape and then press it down. Oh, I've forgotten, you need to do the back. We'll do another one because you need to do the back of your envelope needs to be facing out the other way because we're only doing. So once you've got your pages, you've got front cover, 1 page spread, 2 page spread, then this is going to be your back. So for this one, you do it with the same way around. So this is for your back of your, and I've already removed my tear and tape here, so it might be a little bit trickier, but we'll just shimmy it in. There. Press it down. There. And then you've got a solid piece for the back and a solid piece for the front. Okay, so we've used 4 envelopes. So we've got front cover, first double page spread, second double page spread, third double page spread, and this one has got, and then you simply want to tuck this envelope into itself so that you don't have any flaps, and that's your front cover bit. And what you do, you just take a pick tool inside and you peel that off and press it down, and that's your album. So you've got a lovely spine, front cover, double, 1, 2, 3, and then solid back cover, and that gives you however many pages you want. You see the spine, it gives you a really lovely spine. The envelopes don't feel like you think, oh my goodness, they're not that strong to support a book, but they are. It's amazing. By the time you add your cardstock or your DSP on the top, it forms a really solid book. So that's how you do a farm counting book. And then I just simply made a box that is slightly bigger than the book. I always add about 2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch around, either to the measurements. You just measure your depth, your width and your length of the book, and then you decide how high you want your sides to be. I made the sides a little bit higher. I think that's sort of nice for the book to sit in and to be able to get into it. And then you just simply make a box, and then for the lid, you make the lid again 2 millimeters larger. Oh, it's upside down either side. And that's how you make your On the Farm counting book. Enjoy.